The ancient world has long been treated as a collection of failed experiments, civilizations that rose, flourished briefly, and collapsed before modern humanity finally learned how to succeed. But this framing may be one of the greatest misunderstandings of history. What if ancient civilizations were not failed versions of us, but early observers of truths we are still struggling to accept? Ancient knowledge was not built around progress, as modern society defines it. It was built around continuity. Survival across generations mattered more than expansion within a lifetime. Success was measured not by growth, but by balance between people and land, power and responsibility, ambition and restraint. This is what the ancient world was trying to teach. Across cultures, ancient wisdom emphasized cycles. Time was not a straight line leading endlessly forward. It was circular, seasonal, and repetitive. Civilizations rose and fell just as crops grew and withered. This worldview was not pessimistic. It was practical. It acknowledged that complexity carries risk, and that permanence is an illusion. Modern civilization rejected this lesson. We replaced cycles with narratives of endless growth. We assumed that technology could flatten limits and that innovation could substitute for restraint. Ancient cultures warned against this assumption repeatedly, not with equations, but with stories. Flood myths were not fantasies of divine anger. They were memories of environmental overwhelm. Fire myths were not supernatural threats. They were metaphors for uncontrolled force. Stories of lost golden ages were not nostalgia. They were reminders that decline follows excess. The ancient world taught that knowledge alone does not save societies. Wisdom does, and wisdom is inseparable from humility. Ancient builders did not dominate landscapes. They adapted to them. Cities followed terrain. Structures aligned with climate. Materials were chosen for compatibility rather than conquest. These choices reflect an understanding that the environment is not an obstacle to overcome, but a system to cooperate with. Modern society inherited the tools of ancient engineering, but rejected this philosophy. We flatten land, redirect rivers, and build against natural limits. When failure occurs, we frame it as disaster rather than feedback. The ancient world would have recognized it as correction. Another lesson ancient civilizations emphasized was proportion, not just in geometry, but in life. Sacred geometry symbolized harmony between parts and wholes. Ratios were not mathematical curiosities. They were ethical guides. Excess in one area demanded restraint in another. Modern systems amplify imbalance. Economic growth concentrates power. Technological advancement accelerates inequality. Efficiency outpaces meaning. Ancient wisdom warned that imbalance spreads until collapse restores equilibrium. This is not moral judgment, it is observation. Ancient societies also understood the danger of forgetting. Knowledge was embedded in ritual, myth, and monument because memory is fragile. Writing could be lost. Libraries could burn. Stories endured because they lived in people. Modern civilization relies on storage rather than memory. Data accumulates, but understanding fragments. Information is abundant, but wisdom is scarce. Ancient cultures anticipated this risk. That is why their teachings repeat, encoded in different forms across time and place. Perhaps the most uncomfortable lesson the ancient world tried to teach is that collapse is not always failure. Collapse can be correction. It strips away excess. It forces recalibration. It returns societies to fundamentals. Ancient myths often describe collapse followed by renewal, not as punishment, but as necessity. Modern society fears collapse above all else. We equate it with extinction. Ancient cultures saw it as transition. This does not mean collapse should be welcomed. It means it should be understood. The ancient world also taught restraint in power. Leadership was not about dominance, but stewardship. When leaders forgot this, collapse followed, a lesson preserved relentlessly in myth and history. Modern governance often celebrates power without guardianship, scale without accountability. Ancient wisdom warned that systems grow fragile when leaders become insulated from consequence. And then there is perhaps the deepest lesson of all: meaning matters. Ancient societies integrated purpose into daily life through ritual, community, and connection to land and sky. Meaning was not optional. It anchored social cohesion. Modern society often treats meaning as personal preference rather than collective necessity. The result is alienation, fragmentation, and existential fatigue. Ancient cultures would have recognized this as a precursor to instability. When viewed this way, the ancient world was not primitive. It was cautious. It understood something modern civilization resists acknowledging: that intelligence without wisdom accelerates collapse. The ruins that cover the earth are not accusations. They are instructions left behind by those who learned the hard way. They are not telling us to abandon progress. They are asking us to redefine it. Progress without proportion is not progress. Knowledge without restraint is not wisdom. Growth without balance is not success. This is what the ancient world was actually trying to teach, quietly, persistently, across millennia. And whether we finally listen may determine whether future civilizations study our ruins the same way we study theirs. Subscribe to this channel for more. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a story lost to time.